by far the most popular Masters of the Universe toy is He-Man and Battle-Cat. It's one of those figure combinations that is, well, it's passed beyond fans and become part of pop culture. And obviously, getting Battle-Cat into the Masters of the Universe Classics line was a priority from day one. Much like He-Man was an upgraded version of the original toy, so was Battle-Cat. Larger, more articulated, and able to dispense Pez out of his mouth. No, just kidding, but wouldn't that be cool? Well, Battle-Cat wasn't the only beast of burden that was done in the Classics line, and in fact, the Battle-Cat buck was used to make several of the beasts, including the Griffin. While Battle-Cat couldn't be disguised as a horse, he could do a lot of things, and one of the things he could do was become Battle Lion. Now, if you're not familiar with Battle Lion is the Battle-Cat version for King Grayskull, the sort of Preternia He-Man, the more barbaric, the one from, He-Man's ancestor from centuries ago, or maybe just from the Netflix show Living in the Afterlife. However you want to do it, Battle Lion is awesome. Now, Battle Lion started in the 2000X series, and one of the aesthetic design choices was that some of the characters were larger, like Beastman and Clawful, physically bigger than other characters, and a lot of people wanted classics to reflect this, making King Grayskull and his mount Battle Lion larger. While this was a cool idea in theory, like communism, it wasn't very economical, because if we'd done a giant large lion, that would have required an all-new tool, versus being able to do a new head on the existing Battle-Cat buck. Well, not only did it keep Battle Lion in scale to King Grayskull, but economically it allowed the shared tooling that was necessary to do a line like Classics. Now, sharing cat bucks, if you will, a cat buck meaning a generic body of a tiger here, in this case, is not restricted to Masters of the Universe. You see this popping up all the time. For example, in the San Diego Comic-Con, not Lost World, Savage Land, that's it, Savage Land. The Savage Land X-Men set from Comic-Con used a tiger that was originally used in Hasbro for their G.I. Joe Sigma 6 figure line, which is actually one of the coolest G.I. Joe lines of all time. I really should do a video on it. But yeah, reusing animals in lines has been done for decades. In fact, the original Battle-Cat that we've all come to know and love didn't start off as Battle-Cat at all. It didn't even start off as Panther. In fact, it didn't even start off as the tiger you see there. The tiger that you're looking at is from a Big Jim On the Tiger Trail set that came out in the 1970s. And as we all know, teaching kids to hunt wild tigers and imprison them in small steel cages is extremely educational and encourages children to become animal wardens and circus owners. Well, not really, but it was the 1970s and things weren't exactly as environmentally conscious as they are today. I'm sure the World Wildlife Federation would have a thing or two to say about selling cage tiger sets to children and encouraging this. But having a tiger buck in the line is what allowed He-Man to have his mount, because this was an existing toy that could be redecoed. It didn't start off, as I said, as the tiger from In the Tiger Trail. It actually started off as Tarzan's Panther, available as both a single and a two-pack with Tarzan himself. Now, while Tarzan only used a panther in, I think it was the third book, right? The Beasts of Tarzan is when he has a panther. Well, this was obviously scaled to work with a 12-inch figure as a giant jungle cat that would work with the Tarzan figure and be a correctly scaled figure. Masters of the Universe, on the other hand, is a fantasy line. So it really wasn't important that the tiger, or in this case the panther, was scaled correctly to, well, in this case, Tarzan and his awesome wielding knife, which in the book he got from his father. It was the only thing that he kept from his parents, but that's an entirely different video altogether. Now, taking a 5-inch figure like He-Man and putting him on top of a tiger that was meant to go with a 10-inch, 12-inch figure, well, this is exactly how the fantasy element worked, because you could take an existing real-world animal, paint it in non-real-world colors, and then pair it with a figure that was smaller. Simply doing a quick repaint from this early set allowed, from an economical standpoint, to flesh out the world of Masters of the Universe. And it wasn't just Battle-Cat that had this treatment. Zora the Eagle and even Gygor the unproduced gorilla all came from previous Mattel toys. It was great that they could mine the existing tooling bank because, as I said numerous times, tooling is the one-time capital cost. So for Battlecat, all it required to be tooled was a helmet and a saddle, putting that on the existing cat buck. Now, this was a non-articulated cat, if you will, and for He-Man, the panther, which was then a tiger, became a fighting tiger. So yes, Battlecat, I guess, officially is a tiger, whereas King Grayskull's mount is a lion. How do we know it's a lion? Well, it has a mane, and manes are with lions, just as tigers have stripes. So yes, I don't know if Battlecat and Battle Lion exactly are related because they're different species, but that really doesn't matter in the end. What mattered was getting an actual toy of this, and the first ever, and still only, Battle Lion figure is part of the Masters of the Universe Classics collection. And in designing him, using the existing cat buck, which again was used for multiple animals, including, as I said, the griffin, which had new head and new wings and new feet, we got a lot of leverage out of it. For Battle Lion, all we really had to do was tool up a new head, which, with the Horsemen being the amazing, talented sculptors they are, didn't require that much development time. So he was able to be put to market with very little development, but was a key character, especially for those pre-Eternia battles, and for those who were fans of the 2000X series, episode 35, The Powers of Grayskull, well, you would be really excited to have a long-toothed, shaggy-maned green lion to hang out with your green tiger Battlecat. You can see how similar they are, yet amazing how much just a new head can really change. Now, the other interesting thing about Battle Lion was his armor. It was absolutely designed based on the animated reference, but the clever designers in the form of Bill Beneke and the Four Horsemen, well, they wanted to make sure they could maximize this. And one thing that was absolutely deliberate was noting that in the 2000X version of Battlecat, he had, well, there were actually several releases, some of them more, I guess, robust than others with giant missile launchers mounted on their back, but the armor that was created for Battle Lion was deliberately designed so that you could also put it on Battlecat and create the 2000X look, all the way down to, I guess, the foot armor, if you will, or the paw armor. So while some people said, oh, what a cool coincidence, like, look at how it just fits. No, it was deliberate. Like, this was absolutely something we put a lot of thought into because we knew people wanted to create this look. So when we premiered Battle Lion at, I don't know if it was New York Toy Fair or San Diego Comic-Con, it kind of all blends in my head, but we very deliberately noted to fans that, yes, the armor is removable, and if you put it on Battlecat, well, then you can have a 2000X version of Battlecat, and He-Man fits perfectly on it, just as King Grayskull fits perfectly on Battle Lion. They're the same basic figure, although granted, King Grayskull technically is a little larger, and that was also deliberate. I think his boots might have been taller, just to give him a little bit of a height difference. So here you could see Battle Lion without the armor, and the 2000X version of Battlecat, and then Battle Lion with his armor. So totally swappable. Now, obviously, the 2000X series were smaller. They were 5-inch, not 6-inch, so that 2000X Battlecat isn't in scale, but it's not meant to be. This is all about classics. And with King Grayskull riding into battle on his giant mounted lion, well, you finally could actually build up this era of Eternia. I mean, if you wanted to give Battle Lion to other characters, you could do that too. I mean, why not put it with Vicor, or why not put it with Cyclone? That could be fun. Well, okay, maybe a lot of people probably weren't having Cyclone ride around on a giant green lion, but the point is, diversity rocks, Masters of the Universe Classics rocks, and it was all about getting fans what they always wanted.